Hey, thanks for clicking on my face. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, and this is a review of Guillermo Del Toro's Pinocchio. I'm a blind film critic, so I review films that have audio description, and this has audio description on Netflix. This is also just for your own Oscar watch list. If you're trying to check films off, this film's going to get nominated for Oscars. So, bare minimum, Best Animated Feature. So, if you're trying to get things knocked off your list, this would be one to have on your list. And it has audio description, so, why not? And it's Guillermo Del Toro, by the way. I shouldn't, really, I should be able to just close the review. And just be like, well, Guillermo Del Toro directed a Pinocchio, and done. But unfortunately, I feel like I have to talk about it more than that. I don't even know if I'm ready to talk about Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, but I just go at it. I don't know what other movie critics do if they sit down and they prepare, but this is it. This film is stunning. It just it's everything when I complain about stop remaking these films, just stop telling the same story over and over and over and doing it the exact same way. This is one of those films that actually found a way to tell the same basic core story of Pinocchio, but in a brilliantly new way. And I don't even mean the stop motion animation, because I'm blind, so that didn't benefit me at all. We'll get to that in a minute. I'm talking about just the way he chooses to tell the story. Somebody needs to sit Robert Zemeckis down, strap him in a chair, and make him watch this fucking movie. Because, seriously, what he did with his live-action Pinocchio versus what Guillermo del Toro did with this Pinocchio, Robert Zemeckis should quit directing. Because he shows he has no vision anymore. Guillermo del Toro he was like, hold my beer. And just went out and completely restructured and adapted and told a story. Sure, he brought in some things Disney probably would have been like, I don't know, do we need to bring in World War II? But no, there's this whole thing at the beginning that we never get. It's so emotional, and it grounds these characters, and it makes you kind of wonder, who's this film for? I thought sort of the narrator for the film was a little too childlike. I know this film is it looks like it's aimed at kids, but it's aimed at kids in the way that I would say, did your kid like Coraline? If you wouldn't have your kid watch Coraline, I don't know that Pinocchio is maybe the right thing for them. This is not really for little kids. It's got a lot of thematic stuff going on throughout it. I think the little ones would not be too happy. The film opens with what we rarely ever get to see, which is Geppetto with his son before he died. And we spend a decent amount of time in that world with them. And we're introduced to Carlo, because that's a great name to drop. Carlo Collodi is the author of Pinocchio, by the way, in case you just didn't know that at all. So that's a nice nod from Guillermo there. I don't know if that's actually the thing in the book, but I can't imagine that Carlo Collodi wrote his own name as the kid. I have a feeling that's Guillermo just taking a nod to the author. But we see Geppetto and Carlo, and Geppetto is well respected and everybody loves him, and he goes about town and he's like the woodworker guy. He's great with wood and carving, and he's working on this giant Christ statue inside of a church, and he's there with his son, who is rather kind of a sweet little boy, just kind of goofy, a little offbeat, and but clearly has a great relationship with his father. And that we learn all of these sort of important lessons in the first part of the film. That's where he talks about, your nose grows when you tell a lie, because the lie is more obvious to the other people than it is to you. And he tells that to the human version of his son. And you just get this whole experience, and then suddenly you also realize you're in the middle of Italy. It's at the time of Mussolini. They reference the Great War. And it's not a good time. So some stuff happens, and we lose Carlo. And we actually get to see the grieving process for Geppetto. We get to see him try to reconcile with his son's death in a way that we've never gotten before. And finally he builds this puppet, and Pinocchio is 7 times obnoxious. Just when he first comes out, this guy he's got no strings to hold him down. But Geppetto is just so beloved, and has been such a nice, kind person, that this wood fairy comes in and brings Pinocchio to life. Unfortunately, he's an idiot. But it can't be helped. That's why we have a cricket. Sebastian J. Cricket, voiced by Ewan McGregor. David Bradley voices Geppetto, by the way. And if we gave out Academy Awards for vocal performances, David Bradley would be getting a nomination this year. His Geppetto is heartbreaking. It's one of the best vocal performances I've heard in an animated film this year. It's terrific work from David Bradley. Before I leave the Geppetto part of the film, we get a completely different cricket. He actually kind of lives inside of Pinocchio, which makes him great for being a conscience, because he just crawls inside Pinocchio at night. Which is, I guess, creepy if you look at it that way. But the other way, it's kind of like he is wood. Pinocchio is reminded, to be there to love Geppetto and support them, and be there so that Geppetto won't be lonely. And of course, Pinocchio is terrible at following directions, like he always is in every single adaptation ever. And the movie sort of progresses forward from there, and it's about Pinocchio discovering life and right and wrong, but he does it in this fascist regime of Mussolini, with an actual direct reference to the presence of Mussolini being in the film, which is a bold choice for Guillermo Del Toro. They talk about fascism. There's a character played by Ron Perlman who is trying to draft Pinocchio and send him off to war, when they realize that Pinocchio can't be killed because he's not alive. He's wood. So he just kind of gets knocked down and knocked out for a little while, and then he just gets back up. There are trips made sort of to this underworld every time Pinocchio, quote unquote, dies. He doesn't really die because he can't die because he's not living. They explain the whole thing, but it gets very sort of like, I'm not sure this is for kids. I'm not sure. I would always hesitate in general with a Guillermo del Toro project before I just handed it to a kid and was like, yeah, you should watch this. I know you're in first grade, and this says Guillermo del Toro on it, but this feels feels up to speed for you. Um, just I would maybe think about the content in this. Yes, it has a big fish for them to be swallowed by. It has all of those moments. It has at least one other bad guy. It doesn't have the Pleasure Island sequence. It doesn't have Disney songs in this. I don't know if you were hoping they would sing When You Wish Upon a Star or I've Got No Strings, but they don't. It does have its own original music, and it has a very lovely score by Alexander Desplat. The, yeah, I'm going to go with that. I think I got it close enough. Um, and the music here is delightful. It's whimsical. Um, my favorite part was when Ewan McGregor, who plays Sebastian J. Cricket, he's about to start into a song, and then somebody just like opens the door and squashes. So his song ends like immediately. He's like, "Oh well, you had a song, so it's time for me to have a song." And then he just starts singing, and then it was good. It's funny, it's heartfelt, it's inventive, it's creative, it's everything that you expect when Guillermo Del Toro puts his name in front of something. It's sort of the gothic, spooky elements to it, but it's got a whole lot of just realism and humanism and just a lot of really great character studies and payoffs, setup and payoff, everything. This film is structured so well that I think it might be in the top 10 for the year. There's a very real possibility. We've had some tremendous animated films this year, and this is one of them. So, yeah, I fully recommend this film. Now to talk about it from like a blind perspective, it's the same thing that I had with Wendell and Wild. I didn't get anything out of the stop motion aspect of the film. There was nothing in the audio description that really lent itself to letting me know that the film was animated, that the film was stop motion. It didn't do a lot with expressing the medium in which the story was being told. And the medium is so much of the reason why a lot of sighted people would choose the film to begin with. When you have a film like that, it's stop motion it's hard to make, and it sometimes feels like it's a dying medium. So anytime there is a stop motion animation film, usually there's a pretty big deal about it. So it's great this year how many stop motion animation films will likely get Oscar nominations, because it really just highlights the work that these animators do. But there was nothing in the audio description that really made me believe, oh, yes, this is stop motion and they're taking full advantage of it. Plus, it's a Guillermo Del Toro movie, and his descriptions are lush and his choices are precise. His production design, his set design, everything he is very detail oriented. He doesn't just put things out there and go, it's like he is a visual director. He is somebody that we need somebody to come in and attack it like it's a visual director. And I would have much appreciated an audio description team that attacked this film in a more neutral fashion than in one with sort of this whimsical, childlike narration to it. The narration really feels like it's aimed at kids, but I don't know that the film is. I know it probably feels like it should be because it's an animated Pinocchio, but this is a film that I would not say immediately take your little ones to. There's some really hard stuff here, and the ending to the film, the beginning and the ending, this is bookended by sadness. This is not a happy film. This is a film that your kids will be like, why did you make me watch this? I think it's something that adults get a lot more out of when you really understand already the preciousness of life. But teaching a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old that is just not really. I don't know. They're, you know. I think it's just gonna. I don't know how it's gonna work for kids. I'd love to know if your kid has seen it. Drop it in the comments and let me know. How young was your kid and did they like it? I think there are some themes here that are gonna go over their head. They obviously. I don't know if they're gonna pick up on the Mussolini stuff, but I'd love to know what their thoughts are. So I would love to see a test screening full of little kids, no parents, just leave kids in the room and just be like, are they watching it or are they distracted? You know? It's about 2 hours long, so it's a little bit long for kids too, which is another thing. Kids are so used to being served films now that are shorter and shorter and shorter. I mean, what? Disney just released Diary of a Wimpy Kid Broderick Rules, which was like not even an hour and 15 minutes long. That's like an hour and 15 minutes with credits. So, yeah, kids are used to getting shorter and shorter projects now. But this was delightful. It's, I will say it's currently in my top 10. There are films I haven't seen this year, so it could end up getting knocked out of my top 10. But when I placed it in the list, I realized it needed to be in my top 10. So that's where it is. I loved it. I was moved. Guillermo Del Toro got me. I think this is better than Nightmare Alley. It's obviously a passion project and a labor of love for Guillermo. So I hope you guys enjoy it. The audio description, like I said, it's fine. It just doesn't it doesn't do anything to further the medium that it actually is. You would not know that this is animated or stop motion. So, and in case you didn't know where this was going, I'm gonna give Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio an A. Yeah, this one's a treasure, guys. This is a good one. Anyway, thanks for sticking through the review. I'm still trying to get to 100 subscribers this year. I need 11 more. If you think I have good comments or thoughts, really, I'm just trying to further the conversation of audio description, and sadly, I need followers to do that. I need my voice to matter, so I need as many followers as humanly possible, so that way, when I complain about the lack of audio description, somebody actually looks at because everything is based on how many followers you have. I'm not trying to turn this into, money, but I would like for everybody to take audio description a little bit more seriously and make more of a commitment. So I have a website, macthemovieguy.com. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to theadna.org and you can look up and see who's narrating stuff. Unfortunately, Netflix is now doing this thing. It's so obnoxious. It's like it tracked it, too. Because it wasn't in the normal spot. It waited until the exact moment that the narrator was going to be announced. And at the same time, it also, did, end movie coming up next. My screen reader, which I have to have because I'm blind and can't see the screen, read over the narrator. So all I got was International Digital Center. I have no idea who narrated this. So, anyway, fun fact. So I will review something else for you guys and see you on the other side.